Hi, this is Stealth. The purpose of this video is to give you instructions on how to fill out session log reports and transactions for e-gaming reports, and also how to get them up on our Google Drive so that they're accessible by all players and certainly by me to get them and record them into the system. So with that, what you're looking at on my screen is in fact the description of the Google Drive that's available to all team members, and it's the NAP account reports. And in it, you will see we've created a NAT player logs that's at the top. And if I open that, then you will see that there are folders that have been named for each of you. And in those folders, I have placed all the old logs that I had. This really isn't all of them, but all that since I started doing it using Excel instead of paper, printing them. This is all of them. I occasionally will put, not occasionally, I will put any kind of associated documentation like expenses, W2G copies, things of that nature. I will put in the system also as we do that. So they're there for you to see. At the top, you will notice an in process folder, and in here are those logs that have been created and uploaded by the members, by the players, but have not been entered in my system. Process-wise, what will happen is I'll ask you to upload your log, name your log properly, and upload it into here, and then I will open and upload it into my accounting system. So that'll work. The template for the log is in the player logs master folder, if you will, and it's called NAT Log V8 down here, version 8. And if we could, we're going to open that and go take a look in the details on how to complete the log. So here we go. Since I already have the log open, I'm just going to go here and we're there. Now, the log consists of actually 7 tabs, worksheets, if you will, that we're going to talk about. 3 of them are for entering, excuse me, wow, amazing. 3 of them are for entering data, blackjack, hole card, and e-gaming. 1 of them is for summary information, cash, which is what we're looking at. And another one, the others are for kind of backup or background information that I'll quickly explain to you as we go through. Okay, in the cash log, what we're trying to do is use this to summarize everything we're reporting on, and to summarize, not summarize, but and to detail those things related to the transfers of money, to expenses, and to our current cash position, and who was involved in verifying the log entries and what was the name of the trip. So let me point out some instructions, and they're kind of helpful in that we would ask you to recognize these. One, fields that have headings with this blue background are are always associated with some drop-down selection box. So you can see and then just select who you want, and it'll complete the box for you. Please do that. You can type the name in there, but if it is not exactly like one of these, or the entry, if you will, then it will tell you you've got an error and you need to select it from the drop-down. So please do that. It's important that they be concise, because when these things are transferred into my system, they generally are used for various reports and lookups and things of that nature. So it's important that they be accurate to the use that's prevalent in that system. The headings with the dotted backgrounds, things like all of these, and the ending bankroll and cash transfers, gain and loss, all of those are automatically calculated. So we do not expect you to do anything in there except to note that's what they are, and do not enter into it, as you'll destroy the formulas, and then we'll have a log template that doesn't work. So we'll solve that problem. Okay. To get started, what you do on this sheet is to first of all identify who you are. So I'm going to be BB King, and you'll see some things that happen. So the next thing you want to do is tell it what your starting bankroll is. So I'm going to start with $10,000, and that's really all we need to do now. Then we would move to the blackjack worksheet and begin to enter our blackjack play. Now notice when we entered BB King, it automatically completed this column telling me who the player is that's entering these sessions. So that's part of what it was doing. It also will give you, again, headings that are indicative of what we talked about before, that if they're in this blue, then they are in fact a drop-down box to choose from. So I want to run through this one because it's important that you understand some of the reasoning behind why we need the specific data in these places, because that's important. What the end result of that is we obviously log the effect on our actual bankroll, and we develop your EV from what information is provided here. So the more accurate we get, the more accurate your EV is, and we're obviously very interested in doing that. So let's enter a couple of sessions and see what happens. So a play type is in fact a spot. Well, let's do a BP. A play type is BP, and the date is 8/27/2014, and we want to be there at 9 p.m. It's important that I get the date and time. Sometimes I'm doing cross-referencing, if you will, between BPs and spotters, and I'm looking for the same session to see who called who in, and are the right people getting credit. And I can't do that. It makes it incredibly difficult when you just have a BP session with an amount and none of that other information available. So I would suggest that you do that. And on this session, we won $2,500, so we're good. We were called in by someone. We're BP, so we're going to be called in by CS. We were called in with 12, with a running count of 12 with 4 decks left. We would ask you to tell us how many rounds you played, and I would tell you that one of the two of us are going to estimate that if you didn't count them. If you tell me that you were called in with 4 decks left, and I know it's a deck and a half cut off, then I know you played 2.5 decks. And 2.5 decks is about 130 cards. And my rule of thumb is if I use about a 10, divide it by 10, I'll get how many rounds you played. So that would be 130 cards divided by 10 would be 13. So that would be the number of rounds that I would have estimated you played. If you will look over here, you will see that as soon as I entered the decks left, the system generated a kind of a calculated area for me to tell me how many rounds would have been played with that many decks left, with 4 spots being played in that. And it said 14. So we see that we're reasonably close to what it would have calculated the mathematical ability to do that. Okay. I need to know what unit. Well, we were playing with a $100 unit, so we would enter that to make sure. Then I need to know the game. Now, let me kind of explain what this means. What this drop-down has is some 200 and some games that were all created using CBCX in order to determine 2 major pieces of data. One of them is a frequency distribution by count, and the other one is a win-loss by count. And with the names of these models, when you tell me you played this game, then what these ID is saying to you is it's a 6-deck game, and I hope you can see these. If not, you may have to, at any rate, I'll show you in a different way in a minute. But it's a 6-deck game, hit 17, double after split, and resplit aces. So I selected it. Well, what it's telling you is it's a 6-deck game with 3/4 of a penetration, and it's a hit 17, double after split, resplit aces. The HF just means that it's a high-low game. So that's another indication, because in fact when I started I was keeping up with some KO and some other stuff that I'm not doing now, but it's a high-low game. So what that allows me to do is take the information you're giving me about this session and go associate it or marry it with all the information about frequency distribution and win-loss by count there. What I'm missing is what did you bet, and that's what the ramps are. And if you look at the ramps, you're going to see a bunch of names that are nothing more than made-up names that identify ramp structures that have been designed. I'm going to leave here now and go down to the tab called Bet Ramps and open it up. And here you can find those names over here in the ID column. And then what you've got is a distribution of bet in units, bets across the possible range of counts, with an additional place to say, are we wonged in? In other words, if this bet ramp is being used to wong in, then we indicate where we're wonging in at, okay? And you can see the bet ramps. You can see what units we're betting at what counts throughout. And there are bet ramps in here for spot all. That is where we're in like a Cherokee environment where we have an ability for the spotters to ramp up themselves if need be, and it provides a ramp for that. We have flat betting, we have double deck betting, we have a range of long betting from, generally a flat bet of 2 all the way up to 20. So you can get some sense. Now, I will further tell you that if you've got a question when you're playing, and you know, for example, that you bet a range of different numbers, but you're pretty comfortable that your average was about 650, then you can come here and look at this bet ramp tab, and you will find in here the average bet in a normal $100 unit 6-deck game. So if you came down, you would find that an average bet of 658 is associated with W7. So in other words, if you were flat betting $700, you would be averaging about $658 for that session for every bet. And you'd have a win rate of about 1.43%. So this will give you the background data to let you have knowledge about which of these ranges were there. So what happens if you don't do that? If you put in that column, 1 by 200, 2 by 400, 2 by 900, 1 by 600, I'm going to do the best I can at averaging and do exactly what I just showed you. I'm going to find the number and associate it with the closest long range I can get. So that's it. Okay? So let's go back to our blackjack. Let's pick a ramp. Let's say we're doing a 2 by 400, so we'll take a W8 ramp and we're going to play 2 spots. Okay? And we need to know what casino we were in. So there's a drop down here of all the casinos. Please don't type Harris in there or anything. As a matter of fact, I need you to select the casino out of the drop down. There are 700 casinos in here. So all of them are going to be in here. They're listed and prefixed by state. So you should be able to find it. So we're going to use one of, no, we're not. We're going to use somebody. How about we use Cosmopolitan? That's one of my favorite places anyway. So that's the way we do it, okay? Let's try one more, and this is something you can do. You can, just for expediency's sake, I often would just highlight the entire thing, copy it, and paste it. Now what I do is come through and modify it. Okay, so this is now a spot. It wasn't 9 o'clock, it was 9:25. Okay. My actual was $250. I didn't. I called in. I did call in. Somebody called in MH. The count was 9 and 3. How many rounds did I play? Well, see, now we got the converse of the BP problem. When we were a BP and we said we got called in with 4 decks left, we know we probably had the ability, if we're having to guess how many rounds we played and don't know, we had the ability to play 2.5 decks. So it ended up being 13 or 14 rounds. In the case of spot, realize that we're going to generate EV based on whatever spotting you were doing, and they do generate EV, albeit not a lot. So when we do that, we need to know how many rounds. Again, if you don't tell me and you say 2 shoes, right? So if it's 2 shoes, then I can come up here and say, okay, it's a 6-deck game. They're cutting off 1.5. So at 4.5 shoes, so I'm going to play 9 decks, right? And they're going to be 4 spots played, and that's 43 rounds if you do that. So I can say I played 43 rounds. The little calculator here, that's all it's for, is for you to figure out how many rounds you played in a spot situation. Actually, how many rounds you played in any situation. You just tell it how many decks you played and how many spots were being played, and it'll tell you what the estimated number of rounds were. So we know we played 43 rounds. Now, we probably were playing with a $15 unit, playing the same game. We were not playing with a W8. Those are all done with spot, and we don't have anything in how many spots played. It's assumed you played 1 in that case, but we were still at the Cosmopolitan. So you've got, now I've got the information I need. Importantly, and for me, is that what I can now do is I can go grab that and do a cut and cut it right into and paste it right into my system. So I no longer would have to enter each of these and make decisions on what was going on when we did it. In other words, I'm asking you to make those decisions about your sessions before they ever get to me, which will expedite what's going on. Okay. Let's go back now quickly to our cache and see what happened. One, you see we've picked up a game loss, and if we go back to our blackjack thing, you will see that it's totaling what the actual was in here. So we're now up 2750, and the system, the cache summary system, has picked up that you played 2 blackjack sessions worth 2750, and it's picked up that the gain or loss for all the activity for this log is now 2750. So you'll see this populate as we go along. Okay, let's move over to a hole carding play, and this is similar. I need some different information here, and you'll see kind of what's there. First of all, we've got our blue areas that are once again drop down. So let's pick our casino, and I'm going to pick that one. I don't care. And then let's pick the game we played. And I'll point out again, you'll notice that the player whose log this is, initials have already been brought over. When you look at the game, what games can we play that are hole carding? Well, we can play Mississippi Stud, 3-card poker, Ultimate Texas Hold'em, and blackjack. So we're going to assume this is a Mississippi Stud game. We're going to assume that it was 8/27/2014, and it was 10 o'clock at night, and we won $6,532. We had a really good session. We didn't have a partner, so we don't really have to put anything in here, but we can put our own name that indicate we didn't have a partner. It's important to know which read we have. The development of EV is a bunch of models for Mississippi Stud at read levels that are 5% off. So starting at 90% at the top. In other words, if we're on 3rd Street, which is what this is about, and we have a 90% read, then I have a model that will tell me what advantage you have to determine what your EV was. I need to know how many rounds played. I can't really estimate this. You've got to give me how many rounds you played to do that. And for that reason, you're required to count those rounds. So let's say we played 45 rounds. I also want to know how many rounds of the 45 did you play with no information. So let's say that 15 of them had no information. And then how many were just wrong? In other words, the spotter told you it was a jack and it really was a queen or something, but it was just wrong. So there were 5 of those. And I'm going to change this to 40 rounds just to make my life easier. And I was playing at a $25 unit, and I played one spot. Those are kind of self-explanatory. And there's an area here for you to make some comments about the dealer, an identification of the dealer or whatever, and please feel free to do it. Notice over in the far right, and again, one of those dotted background that's doing a calculation. What it's done is it's taken the 40 rounds, the rounds you said you played, and taken into consideration the number of rounds with no information, the number wrong, to develop a read percentage. This is what I will use to control which of the MS models I use to determine EV for this game. So it's pretty important that this be done. These need to be very accurate. This is a very high advantage game. The EVs can range upward of 50%, although that's rare. They generally are going to range in the 30% range when you get in here. That means it's a 60, 70, 80, or 90% capability to read the hand. Okay. The same thing's true with 3-card poker and the other things, and I won't take time by going through those and doing that. So that's how we do whole card sessions. We're up 65-32, and we've played 2. Well, we don't really play 2 sessions, so we haven't played but 1 session. We'll again jump back to cash and see what we've done. Now we're up 92-82, and you'll see that we've populated the one whole card session for 6,500. So we're beginning to see what the summary results are over here. And last in our is our e-gaming and what input we need to do that, and let's run through that. I'll point out again that our player has been already identified and populated. We need to know what the transaction was you were doing in e-gaming. And your options are redeem, in other words, redeeming an offer or a free play offer, coin in, that is, you're going to play a machine on a given card. Royal tax, which is a means for you to record the effect of hitting a royal or hitting any other series of big hands that cause you to get a W2G, because if you do, then we will reimburse you for a certain amount of money based on that exposure that you personally take. Travel, we keep the travel associated directly with e-gaming, in e-gaming, so you can enter here travel and have a $25 or $50 or whatever your expense was. And expense, which is a little different than travel, but it's there to kind of indicate there was some exceptional item that you needed to do. So for us, we're going to do a redeem. Again, we're going to do it on 8/27/2014, and we're going to do it at 10 p.m. And we need to know who the card holder was, and generally the card holder is going to be the player, but if it's not, let's say the card you're collecting for somebody else, if there's an ID for the offer, in other words, if your area manager said the ID is A143, go pick up that offer, and it's for $250, then enter the A243 or 345 or whatever the offer is. If you pick up that offer, and the offer is for $250 face value, then enter it in coin in or offer, and then tell me what actual you had. So we were real lucky today, so when we played through that offer, we ended up with actual for $265. Then I want to know which machine you played. This is important because we're we're tracking, we want to track the play we do on any given machine to see how efficiently and effectively we're playing it. So the machines are identified with a drop-down list, if you will, and the drop-down list includes the information on the casino, what the machine's serial number is, and what game we're playing. So if we pop down here to this one, and we're in Cincinnati Horseshoe, on game number 25869, and we're playing jacks or better. That's what we're after. When you play that game, then we are also interested in the statistics that you might have. In other words, how many hands did you play? And we played 25 hands, and we hit one quad and no straight flushes. So we now have the information. Okay. Now, in order to expedite this process, let's say we copy and paste and get another one. Excuse me. Sorry. Only now we're going to do a coin in because we don't want them to think we're just taking their money and leaving. So we're going to do a coin in. It was a little later than it was, so we'll add 10 minutes to when we did it. It's still for this card holder. There is no offer ID. And the coin in we're going to do is 55,000. So we're going to do 55,000, or we did 55,000 in coin in, and we lost $1,250 doing it. Okay. And by the way, we decided to do it on a new machine. And if you drop down to all the way to the bottom, you're going to see a selection called New, C column O. So we did a new machine. So it says, come over here and tell me what the machine was. So I found a 9-6 $5 jacks or better. That's serial number is 09875. Okay. So now what you've done is tell me everything I need to know about that, including my ability to add that machine to our inventory of drop-down machines and to have it available and to begin to accumulate later. You might be interested to know that later we can come back and say, show me that machine, and it'll tell me how many times we played it, how much coin in we are, how much actual we are, what percent we lose when we play it or win when we play it, where are we with that machine. So it's important that we have accurate data. Again, we need to know how many hands did we play, and did we hit a straight flush? Yeah, we hit 2 of them, but we still lost money. So that's it. Now, the system has again counted how many sessions or transactions we've done, and also summed the amount of money, actual money we've lost. Okay, now we have completed the 3 kinds of transactions that we can do, blackjack, hole card, and e-gaming. Let's look at our cash report and see where we are. So now we've adjusted our number, and the whole thing is we're up $8,200. Our starting bankroll was $10,000. We can see that as the system has brought over each of the results from our tabs on blackjack, hole carding, and e-gaming. And now what we need to do is complete the rest of the sheet. So everything we did on the 27th, so we'll do that. Had we had more dates, we would just listed what dates that we entered transactions for that were there. We're only gone 1 day, so we had an allowance for food, so we ate $25. We didn't fly anywhere. There was no lodging, but we did use our car, and it was further than 50 miles, so we were entitled to use an allowance for our car. So we had an expense of $50 and no explanations needed. There wasn't anything crazy. Well, there was, I forgot about the $5 where I bought a deck of cards for practice in hotel. So we apparently put that in the wrong place, huh? There we go. I need to fix that. Now we found a little problem. At any rate, you have an area to put some comments in here if need be. I'll shorten that and make it look better. There you go. Now, the only other thing that happened is I was there on that day, and I needed some more money, so I got 5,000 transferred from one of the other players to me. So got a transfer, and of course, if I transferred any out, then I would do that here. So now I should be getting close to complete. Who verified this? Well, Casey was with me, so he verified it. The trip name was Outlaws, so we can get that in there, and so we have that. And you'll know that this allows for reporting of trip results. So if you don't do this, and I don't know what trip this was about, or I may, but it's easier if I have the data. So now let's kind of look at our summary thing and do where we are. We started with a bankroll of 10,000. We played this and did that. We had expenses of 55. We take out the 55 out of our cash, and we transferred some money. So now we count our money, and we should have 23,242. And we find out we have less than that. We only have 23,240. So we have a minus $2 exception. And we need to just come down here and say, you know, error in cash balance. So we know we've made a mistake, and we kind of need to do something about it, right? Let me make a comment about that too, because if you do that, then the way our system handles that is that becomes an exception, and the exception will be an adjustment of $2 to your cash, obviously. It'll also be an adjustment of a like amount to your EV. So if you're making errors in balancing, then those are affecting your EV. Now, sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad. If you're losing money, it's a negative to your EV. If, in fact, we had one occasion where a player was overpaid at a cashier by $1,000, then his exception was $1,000, and he got $1,000 worth of EV, and the $1,000 was added into his cash balance. So it's a two-edged sword, but it clearly is holding some accountability for any kind of error transactions that we've got going on in the players. With that, you're finished. What I would ask you to do is then to do a save of that document and name it with your initials, you know, bb.08.28.2014. And that's what you should save into in process on the Google Drive. If you can get that done, then I'm not going to do that. Then I have your log and I'm ready to upload it. Okay, don't want to take any more time. It's taken long enough to do this. I hope this is mostly self-explanatory. If not, give me a call. The only tricky issue that I'm aware of is probably around bet ramps. The rest of it's pretty intuitive. The drop downs are there to help you and I, so please use them, and please adhere to the policy or the protocols here about colored things and where to enter things and do it. If just as a passing comment, kind of an admonishment, this is a smart group of people. We should be able to do the reporting on the things that we've been trained to do that require us to keep massive amounts of memorized data on hand at a moment's notice. So I would hope we can do a good job of doing our transaction logs. The number of people we've got, and as we grow, this has become an administrative problem, and one of the major purposes of what I'm doing here is to move some of that work out to the individuals so that I can expedite the work that needs to be done here for us to keep our records good. That's the end of this video, and I hope you find it beneficial. Please provide any feedback to Stealth, and you know where I am. Thank you.